Hello, good morning. Welcome to week 2. I'm going to try every week to upload a little video just to go over key points with you guys, just to kind of connect and so you can hear a voice. I think that makes a difference in a course. Um, Feel free to, I think you have the ability to comment, so feel free to comment if you'd like as we go through. So I didn't do last week because I feel like other than the technical difficulties that quite a few had, which hopefully are resolved now, I feel like week 1 is fairly self-explanatory, right? Just getting to know each other. And the book is fairly simple. So I don't think there's a lot to go over there, but I did want to touch base quickly on section 2, ethics, which, is a big deal and is sometimes underplayed, I think, especially in the corporate world. We've seen it a lot in the government. The ethics and social responsibility or responsibility at all kind of gets swept away. So I don't think a lot of people, well, that's not a fair statement. I think there are some people who do not think that ethics is important or that they have a social responsibility at all. So I think it's an important concept to hit very early in the course, to kind of set a foundation for the things that you should be doing in your personal business or your personal life or as a consumer. We have a social responsibility as consumers to look for companies who act in a responsible way or in a way that speaks to us. And not everybody's going to have the same outlook or the same perspective, right? So, a car company may do a thing in a certain way that speaks to you, or a store may have, or a brand may have ethical and social points that they hit that are important to you, and you're willing to pay for the service or the goods that they have because of the way they run their business. I'm thinking of like Patagonia, which is supposed to be the most green company on the planet, I think, and their products are expensive, but if that's important to you, you're willing to pay for it. And then, there are some companies that you don't really know what they're doing or where they're getting their supplies, and you don't really know their carbon footprint or their social outlooks. And maybe once you find out the things that they do, you might not frequent them as much. There are places that I don't go because I don't like the way they treat their employees, or I don't like their policies. And sometimes for some companies it's better if they don't, if they don't tell you what they are. But let's go through a couple of the key things from the book. So obviously ethics is, right or wrong, morality, those kind of things. Social responsibility means, your carbon footprint and pollution and how you handle social issues such as, women's rights or equality, or if you have ethical hiring practices. Those kind of things are more social responsibility. Types of ethics concerns that arise. Obviously, it's how you deal with money, how you use your money, how you. I'm trying to see what else they list here in the book, but it's business is about money, right? So there's going to be ethical concerns with money, but there's also ethical concerns of how you treat people, how you treat the environment, the vibes you're putting out there. Discuss the factors that affect the level of ethical behavior, individual social opportunity. So, individual people obviously have ethics, but then there can also be a culture of ethics or unethical behavior, written or unwritten. Normally unwritten, right? That no one's going to write down, we're going to kill the planet, but there can be an unwritten rule that says we don't care, what our carbon footprint is or how much pollution we pump out because we're making money, and that's what's important. So, as you enter the workforce or move around in the workforce, those are things you need to consider, not just how much a company is going to pay you or, what your bonuses will be, but can you live with yourself? Can you sleep at night knowing that the company you work for does, XYZ? Maybe yes, maybe no, but those are other considerations that you need to take into account. How can ethical decision making be encouraged? Regulations, trade associations, unions. Some companies have a culture that tries to enforce ethics within the company. So, if one person gets off the path, there's other people within that can help or can report or can guide a person back to where they should be. And hopefully the overall organizational culture is one of ethical behavior. Factors that led to a consumer movement. So that's what I talked about with consumerism, right? We're all consumers, and it's up to us to make sure in our free market society, right? So this does not hold true in a command economy, but in our free market economy, it does, right? We have a choice as consumers of what we're going to accept and what we're not. And it takes a lot of people normally for a company to get a message, but that's the power of consumerism. Employment practices, that's what I said also, right? So do you hire minorities? Do you hire the best candidate based on their experience or their education or whatever, not based on their age or their race or their religion or, their gender association or whatever it is? Those are ethical hiring practices. Do you hire? So they talk about affirmative action, which, yeah, I get it, but to me that has a negative, right? Like you're forced to hire someone based on their color, which I think takes it too far the other way. Is your company hiring truly the best candidate for a role, regardless of what they look like or what they believe in? Types of pollution. You can read that. The types of pollution and the things we watch out for as our climate is changing, and businesses have a lot to do with that. Individuals, of course, but businesses do too. Identify the steps a business must take to implement a social responsibility program. This is new. A lot of businesses are just getting into it. They're just figuring out what to do. As I said in my intro, I work for a Fortune, it's 20 now, it used to be 50 last year, Fortune 20 health insurer. We actually have a whole department, we have like 140,000 associates, I think, but we have a whole department that watches for these things. We have a social responsibility officer. We get communications quite often of the things that we're supposed to be doing and not doing as part of our social program. So it's evolving. It's smaller companies have an easier time normally of doing these kind of things because they can make changes faster. So as criteria changes, they can change more quickly than a larger organization usually, even though larger organizations have the funds, right, and the small businesses may not. So it kind of evens itself out, I guess. Large corporations can pay for it, smaller companies can do it easier because they have a smaller staff and normally less regulation to have to deal with. So a good discussion on ethics this week. Read through, see what you think. We'll talk about some things in the discussion. I will check in with you again next week. If you need anything, please message me on the course message, and we will reconvene again next week. Thanks. Have a great week.